Hello everyone and welcome back. In the last lesson we have created the first version of the courses service, which is a stateless observable service. Let's now see how this type of service can be used by our view layer. In this case, the home component, which corresponds to this component here on the screen. Now we have already injected here in our constructor the courses service. Let's now remove this code that is no longer compiling from ng on init, and let's see how can we provide the data that the view needs from this courses service instead of calling the backend directly from the home component. So the first thing that we are going to do is on our ng on init method, we are going to call the courses service load all courses method. As we know, this is going to get us back an observable. So let's create here a new variable called courses, and in order to make it easier for us to identify the variables that are observables and distinguish them from the variables such as, for example, these two here, which are not observables, we're going to be adding as a convention a dollar to the end of any variable that represents an observable. So we have here the courses observable, and we can confirm the type of this variable by using Ctrl+Shift+P and checking that this is indeed an observable that emits as values course arrays, so lists of courses. Now that we have the courses observable here, we need to find a way to pass the data emitted by this observable onto the view. Before, we were passing data to the view using these mutable state variables here. In a component written in reactive style, these mutable state variables will no longer be present. Instead, the component only passes data to the view via observables. So we will have here two observables, a beginner's course observable and an advanced courses observable. So this is what a typical reactive style component looks like. All the data variables are observables. Now we are going to see, before defining these observables and deriving them from the courses observable, we are going to see how these observables are going to get consumed by the view. Switching back here to our template, we could see that here we were passing the beginner courses and scrolling down the advanced courses mutable state variable to our template. Now these variables no longer exist. What we have are observables that emit the values that we want. If we try to pass the observable here directly, this will not work. Instead, what we want to do is to find a way for the view to subscribe to the observable and to get the values emitted by the beginner courses observable. So we can do that here directly from the template by using the built-in Angular async pipe. This pipe is an absolutely essential construct in order to be able to build components in reactive style. Without this pipe, we would not be able to do proper reactive programming in Angular. The Angular async pipe is going to subscribe to the beginner courses observable and is going to make the values emitted by the observable available here to our template. So what we will have here in place of the highlighted expression is going to be a list of beginner courses, which are the values emitted by this observable. We can then iterate through the list of courses by using the normal ng-for syntax. In a very similar way, we are going to be using the async pipe in order to access the advanced courses. Let's take the advanced courses observable and let's then apply it the async pipe. At this point, we now know how an Angular view layer, and more concretely the Angular template, can consume observables from any component. As we can see, the key ingredient in order to make everything work is really the async pipe. The async pipe will not only subscribe to the observable and get its values available to the template, but also when the component gets destroyed, this async pipe will also unsubscribe from the observable if it's not yet completed or errored out, and this way we will avoid any potential memory leaks in our component. This also means that in our home component we will never have to take care of unsubscribing from these observables manually. And actually, in the case of observables that contain data that we want to pass to the component, we will typically not have to subscribe manually to them in our component at all. Ideally, this type of observables that contain the application data should only be subscribed to by the async pipe from the template directly. Now, these variables are not yet filled in. Let's see how can we derive the beginner courses from the courses observable. So like we did before, what we want to apply here is the RxJS map operator in order to derive beginner courses from a full course list. Let's access here the courses observable and let's apply here the RxJS pipe syntax. So this will allow us to chain multiple operators together if needed. In our case, what we want to do here is to apply the RxJS map operator, and we want to take here a list of courses and we want to filter the list by course category. We want to search only for the beginner courses. So what we need is to access here the courses array, and here we're going to be using the array filter function. So this is not an RxJS operator, we are simply doing here a plain JavaScript array filter. So the elements of this array are courses, and we want to return here the value true if the course category corresponds to beginner. And with this, we have defined here the beginner courses observable. We are now going to be defining the advanced courses observable, which is going to be very similar. So for the moment, I'm going to take the definition of beginner courses and I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to now define here the advanced courses. So the only difference is that here the category that we want to filter on is going to be the advanced category. Both of these arrays, the array containing the beginner courses and the array containing the advanced courses, now need to be sorted based on the sequential number property. So each course has a sequential number property and we want to sort these lists using this property. So for that, we're going to be applying the sort courses by sequential number function that is already here ready to be used. Let's switch back here to our home component and let's apply the sorting only in one place here at the level of the courses observable. Let's apply here the RxJS pipe syntax, and just like we did before, we want to be able to map the courses that we have here and produce a new array that is now sorted. So let's take here the courses array, let's call the array sort function, and let's pass it the sort courses by sequence number function. And with this, we have finished implementing the reactive version of our home component. As we can see, we no longer have here mutable state variables. Instead, all the data variables are observables. These are subscribed to by the home component using the async pipe. This means that the view does not know where the data is coming from. The data is being pushed to the view via the observable. This is a very different situation than what we had before. So before, the component was using the HTTP service in order to pull the data into the view. The component knew exactly where the data was coming from. In this case, this component only knows about the courses service, but it does not know anything about how the courses service is implemented. We are calling here load all courses and we are getting back an observable that we use in order to push the data into the view when the data is available. But we are not triggering ourselves the HTTP request. Now, in the case of our courses service, what we are doing here is we are using the HTTP client in order to do a call to our backend. But the home component does not know about that. This is an internal implementation detail of our stateless observable service. We are returning here an observable of course array, and this observable is going to get passed into the view. The values are going to be made available to the view via the async pipe, which is going to subscribe to this observable. Let's then summarize some of the advantages of the refactoring that we have just made when compared to the initial version. The first advantage is that we have here this new separate service that we can reuse elsewhere in our application. So if somewhere else we need to load the courses from the backend, we can do so by reusing the courses service. Besides making the service logic reusable, another advantage of our refactoring is that now we no longer have here potential callback hell in our home component. So everything is being defined via observables. If we want to modify our data, combine it together, we can do so by combining the multiple RxJS operators that are available. That will ensure that our code remains flat and without deep levels of nesting. Another big advantage of our refactoring is that now the data, the beginner courses array and the advanced courses array, is no longer available here via mutable state variables. Instead, we only have here these observables, and with these observables we cannot access the data that they are emitting. The only thing that we can do is subscribe to the observables. Another advantage of this refactoring is that now we are subscribing to our observables using the async pipe. The async pipe will not only subscribe to the observables and make the data accessible to the view, but the async pipe will also take care of unsubscribing from the observables and therefore avoiding potential memory leaks. That can happen whenever we are subscribing to our observables manually. If we look closer to the implementation of the home component, we are going to notice that nowhere did we need to do a manual observable subscription. We are now ready to try out this new version of the home component. Let's go ahead and refresh our user interface. As we can see, everything is still working as expected, it's the same functionality, but we now benefit from all the advantages of our reactive approach that were mentioned before in this lesson. Let's now continue the implementation of our courses service and of our home component. We're going to be introducing a couple of new reactive patterns and anti-patterns. Right now, our reactive solution is completely stateless, meaning that every time that we navigate away and back from this page, we need to reload the courses again, but later on in the course, we are going to learn how to use RxJS to do some lightweight state management as well.